Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Thursday afternoon edition of What You Need to Know. Let's get started right now. We have a jam-packed show for all of you, so I hope you enjoy. First up, Biden administration allows access to border facility, but not one's over capacity. Let's take a listen to that report right now. Good morning, everyone. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this morning news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. Biden administration allows access to border facility, but not one's over capacity. Biden holds the first formal solo news conference of his presidency today. The Biden administration on Wednesday for the first time let journalists into a Texas border facility housing young migrants who crossed the southern border after weeks of denying access to members of the news media. But it has continued to keep reporters out of other detention-like facilities filled well over their capacity. A reporter and camera crew were permitted on Wednesday to enter a facility in Carrizo Springs, Texas, run by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement. That accompanied a delegation of White House officials and members of Congress touring the facility for minors who have arrived at the border, unaccompanied by parents. They saw intake and dining areas as well as a medical clinic, but they were not allowed to speak to any minors, the reporters and camera crews. The administration granted the press access a day before President Joe Biden is scheduled to hold the first formal solo news conference of his presidency, where he is likely to face questions about why the administration was keeping the news media out. It also comes the same day Biden said he was tapping Vice President Kamala Harris to lead the administration's efforts to stem the flow of migration from Central America, and just as the president for the first time brought reporters into a White House meeting on immigration. The influx of unaccompanied minors on the border has posed a potent political threat to the president, who has come under fire from Republicans for his handling of the situation. Used during the Trump administration but shattered in July of 2019, the Carrizo Springs facility was reopened last month to accommodate the increasing number of unaccompanied children crossing the border. Reporters had been allowed in under former President Donald Trump, although recording devices were not allowed inside. There are currently 766 boys ranging in age of 13 to 17 years old in the facility, which has never reached its capacity of 952. Officials told reporters who represented several U.S. television networks, including ABC News. While the journalists were not allowed to speak with the children whom they saw walking around the grounds and playing soccer and basketball, the members of Congress who run the facility were. Officials said the facility is not at capacity since they have set aside space for teens to test positive for COVID-19 when they arrive at the facility, and that 108 have tested positive, according to the reporter. The group was also taken to an empty classroom, recorded videos of piles of clothing for new arrivals, and saw employees walking around outside the building on the ground. The administration has continued to block access to other facilities along the border that actually have far surpassed their capacity. The White House has cited concerns over privacy in the coronavirus pandemic. The Carrizo Springs HHS facility and others like it represent the second step for many accompanied minors picked up by U.S. authorities on the southern border. First, they are typically taken to detention-like facilities run by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, where they are by law only supposed to remain for up to 72 hours before being transferred to HHS shelters or sent to live with sponsors. Those facilities do not have the same capacity for dealing with children that the HHS ones do. In recent weeks, the CBP facilities have become overwhelmed with thousands of minors awaiting to be transferred, a record as HHS has struggled to provide enough space. HHS has recently said it was opening special intake facilities at convention centers in Dallas and San Diego to help take more minors out of CBP custody. The department plans to open a second facility in Carrizo Springs and is bringing another similar facility online in Tesco, Texas, to house a total of 2,500 migrant kids. As of this week, there were approximately 10,500 minors in HHS custody, with nearly 5,000 in CBP custody. The first glimpse inside a crowded CBP facility came Monday from Democratic Rep. Henry Cuellar, who released photographs showing migrants packed into a CBP overflow facility in Donna, Texas. The next day, CBP released its own video showing the inside of Donna facility and another one in El Paso, Texas. Under the Trump administration, CBP officials did not allow members of the media to visit a port of entry for processing center and border patrol station due to privacy concerns. Cameras were not allowed to film the interior areas. When then Vice President Mike Pence took the press with him to two migrant detention centers in July of 2019, with the Trump administration under fire for crowded, unsanitary conditions there. The visit granted dramatic images of Pence standing before hundreds of migrants crammed into cages. Republicans have criticized Biden's team for, they say, being unprepared for migrants coming into the United States in response to Biden rolling back former President Donald Trump's restrictive migrant policy, immigration policies. The White House, meanwhile, has pointed fingers at Trump, saying his administration extradited the situation by systematically ripping families apart, treating people claimed violence and poverty with humanitarian and neglection or dismantling the system set up to deal with them. Trump's administration turned away minors and separated children from their parents as a matter of policy, and hundreds still remain apart as a consequence. Biden, on the other hand, has made clear he does not want to turn away the children and teenagers arriving at the border alone. And that is it for this news report right here on the Riley Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another news report. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Good information there. Cuomo under fire for allegedly giving COVID testing priority to family. Let's take a listen to that video.
Trouble for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Reports say when testing was so hard to access for many Americans, the embattled governor gave special COVID testing priority to his family and influential people close to his administration. Stephanie Ramos is joining us now with more on that. Good morning, Stephanie.
Hi there, Amy. This morning, another accusation hanging over New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's administration. Multiple newspapers are reporting that back in March, at the beginning of the pandemic, the governor instructed top health officials to prioritize COVID testing for his family members and top associates. According to the Albany Times-Union, those family members included his mother and brother, CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. The tests, allegedly conducted by top health officials at times in private homes, hundreds of miles from the Capitol. Those priority tests came at a time when millions of New Yorkers were struggling to find available testing. The Times-Union says an official within the governor's office claims the testing was done in good faith in an effort to trace the virus. Now, this new accusation comes as the governor faces multiple allegations of inappropriate behavior. Cuomo still denies ever touching anyone inappropriately. Amy.
All right, Stephanie Ramos, thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Why the Johnson & Johnson vaccine only needs one dose. So let's take a listen to that video and that report.
Dr. Jen Ashton joining us now with answers to your questions that have come in to us from social media. First question is, why does the Johnson & Johnson vaccine only require one dose? Different technology, basically. So remember, the Moderna and Pfizer use that mRNA technology, so you need kind of a priming dose and then another refresher for your immune system. The J&J is different. It uses a viral vector. So think of this again like influenza vaccine, one dose. Shingles vaccine, 2 doses. It's definitely not one size fits all when it comes to vaccines, even vaccine to treat or prevent the risk of one singular virus. So they're all different. TJ, you've got to stop sending it. No, Amy, you guys, this was mine. I'm going to just admit this was mine. I haven't had a pedicure in over a year, and the bottoms of my feet are hard with calluses. Is it safe to use the callus razors, or what can you recommend that's safe and won't harm my feet? Why are you giving Amy the side eye?
Because you want me to show you my feet?
Thank you.
They have been
those
pedicured.
babies
No, I'm kidding.
smooth as silk. Now listen, this actually, this could have been my question. You do want to be careful with those razors because I have seen people actually cut or lacerate their feet. They are sharp. There's pumice stones. You can soak your feet. There's topical things that they use in some nail salons. My standby, because these guys are in critical condition, let's just say, I like to put Vaseline on them at night, then put some socks on. Yeah, they need some care.
Why'd your voice get softer as you were telling me?
I mean, I just want to share it with a few million people. That's right.
We're going to have nightmares about your feet tonight.
Yes, well, many people do, in fact.
Okay. Keep sending your question in to Dr. Jen on our Instagram at Dr. J. Ashton. My goodness.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Rock.
Okay, there you go. Good questions there. Jonathan Karl reveals details from a meeting with Trump. Let's listen about that right now.
Our next guest is a familiar face to all of us around here. He is the chief Washington correspondent for ABC News and the author of an incredible book, if you haven't read it yet, Front Row at the Trump Show.
Yes, we are thrilled to welcome our guy, Jonathan Karl, here to GMA3. Jonathan, it is good to see you. Come on, admit it. You missed the Trump presidency. You missed
Well,
it.
I don't know about that, but I got to see, that's the best segue I've ever had. From pedicures to the Trump show. I mean, this is fantastic.
Oh man, let's stick with the White House and not Dr. Ashton's feet, if we can here. Okay, Jonathan, you can tell us the press conferences. We got another one coming up here from President Biden. How do you think these things are going to look different from what we kind of became accustomed to over the past 4 years?
Well, first of all, the Trump press conferences were performance. I mean, he actually went out there in the midst of the pandemic and talked about his ratings. You remember he was saying, look, I got better ratings than the Bachelor finale, better ratings than Monday Night Football. And it was all combat with the press. I mean, he went after me many times in very personal terms, went after other reporters. And it was about him being the center of attention. Biden doesn't want to be the center of attention. And I think that's why this is his first press conference. He's waited a long time to actually do this. I think it's going to be a much more low-key affair, probably more substantive, less flash.
John, as you point out, he definitely had some tough words for you. You stood up to him. There was some contentious moments, and yet somehow you got to go down to Mar-a-Lago last week and meet with the president. I know it's for your new book, and you can't give us all the details because it's for the book, but can you give us your impressions of what a post-presidential life looks like for former President Trump?
Well, here's what I can tell you. I went down there to Mar-a-Lago, spent quite a bit of time with him. He opened up on things that he has not talked about at all yet. But overall, I got to tell you, he seemed on one hand bitter and aggrieved. He seems to truly believe this was all stolen from him, believes the old lies that he has been telling. But he seems almost gleeful in talking about it. They're surrounded by all his, club members and fans and supporters at at this club, and bitterly complaining about all the people that he thinks betrayed him.
We saw the events of January 6th, but you tell a story that you actually warned the president about his words, President Trump, previously, that his words could end up being dangerous.
Yeah, and in writing this paperback, TJ, I told the publisher, wait a minute, I need to put new material in here because so much had happened since the hardcover came out last year. And this is one of the things that I wrote just after January 6th when I said, wait a minute, I've got one more thing. I met with him, and it was shortly after the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, where so many people had been killed. And I told him that I was concerned that his rhetoric, what he was saying, especially about journalists as the enemy of the people, as traitors to our country, as terrible, disgusting purveyors of fake news, I said, that rhetoric, aren't you worried, and you should be concerned, that some sick person will take your words to heart? And his words haunted me on January 6th, because what he told me was, I hope they take my words to heart. Because I really do believe that fake news is the enemy of the people, et cetera, et cetera. It was like he didn't process the idea that if people take his words to heart, if people really believe that the election is being stolen, that their country is being stolen, those are words he said, of course they're going to go and try to storm the Capitol as if it were 1776 all over again. Of course they're going to go and try to take down Mike Pence if they believe that Mike Pence is the one who could have saved it for him. But he just didn't seem to process it then, and certainly didn't seem to process it on January 6th.
Wow. And that is certainly haunting. We look forward to more information coming out of that sit-down you had with him. But in the meantime, we get your paperback, which is also very exciting. Jonathan Karl, we want to let everyone know, Front Row at the Trump Show, available in paperback right now. ABC News chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl, you can come back anytime. You're a friend of the show.
Thank you for having me. We'll be back soon.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts.
Okay, there you go. Sounds like a good read there. Pick up that book now, everyone. And thank you for joining us for this Thursday afternoon edition of What You Need to Know. Have a great rest of your Thursday afternoon. See you back here next time for another edition of What You Need to Know. Goodbye, everyone, and see you later with more broadcasts.